I'm Dustin, Prince of Aphotic Realm, and this is Bo, my indie author friend.
Fabulous powers will be revealed to you the day we hold aloft our mics and say,
I have the geekdom! Geekmen and the masters of the Thunder Nerds. Thunder Nerds! Ho! Welcome to another episode of Geekmen and the Masters of the Thunder Nerds. I'm Dustin.
I am Bo.
And this is the podcast that talks about all the things you love.
Without all the hate.
That's right. So, Bo, we're going to be talking about movies today. It's just us.
Movies.
Yeah, it's just us.
Yeah.
We don't have a guest today, but we're going to the movies. It's like a mandate.
If you play your cards right, you might get a kiss at the end of this.
Woohoo! We're going to be talking about something at the end of the show. We're going to be trying to save a movie, but we'll get more into that later. For now, we're going to the movies. And we're going to start with sort of breaking down movies that have impacted us and mean a lot to us. And one of the things that we're asked a lot about is, hey, what's your top favorite movies? Or what's your top 10? Or what's your top 5 movies? So we thought, today we would each break down our top 5 movies. So we're going to start roughly with our 5 down to our number 1 movie. And just a disclaimer, I know for me, Bo's list might be solid, but for me it might change based on the day and mood. And they're all in there for different reasons. So,
and definitely, this is something we definitely want. Comments. We definitely want. You can give us your top 5. We'd love to hear that. And tell us what you think about. Tell us what you think about your top 5. Tell us why you love yours as well. I'd love to hear some responses.
Yeah, I mean, people ask me this stuff all the time, and I made a list in 2013. That's how old my list is, and so I just broke down, like, okay, here are definitely 10 movies that are my top 10. And then I have, okay, here's roughly 11 through 15. And then here's 15 on. Like, roughly some of my favorite movies. And then I just keep adding. And then when we sat down and it was like, oh, it's only going to be the top 5. I'm like, oh, well, this one is definitely going to be in there. Oh, but this one, I don't know. It was agonizing. It was rough.
See, I'm glad it's not past top 5. That's where I would have trouble. Like, my top 5's been pretty solid for a while, but
yeah,
anything past that, it's like you just whatever the day is, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'll just it's plus we never get to elaborate. Like when we do these lists, like if you do them on social media, you never really get to talk about why they're your top 5.
Yeah.
Or why they're your favorite movies. You want to talk about them more, but you never get to. So we figured, why not? We just go ahead and do it.
Yeah. So we'll break it down, and we're going to talk about our top 5 and sort of explain why they're there as we go along. So I guess number 5, Bo, what do you have?
For me, Children of Men.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I distinctly remember going to see that because of the fantastic premise alone about women suddenly having the inability to have children and what are the repercussions of that on the planet. And going into that, it was just it's such an emotional movie to watch.
Yeah.
And for it to be kind of low scale sci-fi and very grounded in reality, and the cinematography, the acting, everything is just pitch perfect. And I cannot recommend that movie enough if you haven't seen it. If there for some reason you haven't seen it and you don't know, I think we'll go, and I think we should set rules. I mean, a lot of these movies we could probably go into spoiler talk, but I'm gonna try and stay past not ruining the ending of movies.
Yeah.
Just in case people want to actually go see them if they've somehow missed them. But that's definitely one. If you have not seen that movie, it's you just got to be in the right state of mind, because it will destroy you emotionally when you watch it.
And that's Julianne Moore, Clive Owen, right?
Yes, yeah, and just a beautiful movie, absolutely beautiful movie.
Yeah, I definitely remember enjoying that one as well. That was really good.
The cinematography is insane on it as well. It's cannot highly recommend it enough.
Wow.
Yeah, okay, what's your?
That's a solid pick. Mine is I can't believe this is number 5, but it feels like it should be higher, and I want to make it higher. But I'm gonna say Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. So that might surprise many, because they're like, oh, it's a prequel or whatever. But you know what? I actually love the prequels. So I think I've told this story before, but I'll just sort of briefly glaze over it now. When I was a kid, pretty much 3 years old, every morning, we didn't really have TV. We had just a VHS and like a VCR, and that was it. So I had Return of the Jedi. I had like a He-Man She-Ra tape and a couple Thundercats tapes that my grandma had taped off the TV for us, because she had cable and send along when we would go visit. So my whole childhood, all I had was Return of the Jedi. So I loved Jedi and the idea that there were other Jedi out there and Jedi Knights, and I was so excited when I was like probably, I don't know, I was probably like 5, 6, maybe a little older even, when I found out that there was a Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. So those movies, didn't like strike me as much as Return of the Jedi did. But then, they easily became some of my favorites, and we watched them over and over again every year. And then the prequels came out, and then just the whole evolution and seeing the characters go from, seeing their origin and travel all the way through. And, again, I was obsessed with Jedi, and having all the Jedis everywhere in the prequels was what was exciting to me. And then, ultimately, I just think that Revenge of the Sith is probably one of the most emotionally powerful of the Star Wars movies that's out there, next to Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back. Because Return of the Jedi, mainly because, there's the internal struggle of Vader turning back to the light side and saving his son, and then, of course, in Empire Strikes Back, Luke, learning that his father's actually Vader, killed Obi-Wan, and all that other stuff. So the emotionally powerful moments in the Star Wars franchise is what always pulls me to that. And I think the turmoil of seeing this character that you have seen redeemed in the classic trilogy, you're seeing him fall, like you see the young boy fall to the dark side, and it's tragic. And you're wishing the entire time for him to do something completely different. It's like, just make a different decision. Any decision besides this. Even though you know the outcome, you spend the entire movie wishing for a different outcome. It's still tragic, and just to see it unfold is heartbreaking. So I love Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I remember going to a midnight showing of that, and everybody was pumped, and then it came to that scene.
Mm-hmm.
next to the pit, and I just remember it was really quiet.
Yeah.
And everybody was just completely into that scene.
And one of my favorite moments of that was that scene, and when Obi-Wan says, "You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you."
Oh God.
And it's still, I have goosebumps now just talking about it. And someone on YouTube released a video. They did a fan cut of Obi-Wan Remembers, and when he's talking about before the dark times, before the Empire, and he's remembering back. It's Obi-Wan from A New Hope telling Luke about his father and all that stuff, that scene, and he's cutting back as he's like looking off in the distance. Every time he looks back and he says something, it has a flashback to like Revenge of the Sith. Most of them are from Revenge of the Sith, but just that little clip, when they cut that, made that even more emotionally jarring. I actually, people are going to think I'm weird, but that's okay. I well up with tears every single time I watch that, and it's one of my favorite things to watch.
Yeah. I'll admit it too. It was
powerful.
Very emotional. Yeah.
It's powerful. When you care about these characters, it's something that you're invested in. It's not unreasonable, I think, but it's emotionally powerful. I think, especially when they cut the scenes like that. It was very, very good. I'll make sure to have the link in the show links below, because it's, again, everyone should see it if they haven't. It's Obi-Wan Remembers. It's on YouTube. It's one of my favorite things ever. So my number 5, it should be higher, but if I had to pick only one Star Wars movie, it would be Revenge of the Sith, just because, again, I loved. One of my other favorite things of Revenge of the Sith is the opening music, when they're zooming in to rescue the Chancellor. The boom, 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 boom. And then the ships. Man. I was at Star Wars Celebration 3 when they played that music. They had like the Dolby Digital surround sound on, and they played that as they revealed like some of the exclusive clips to everyone there, and that still resonates with me. It's just like, just that music and that moment, that scene just unfolding. It's just insane, that space battle. I never thought I would see a space battle that beautiful. But Revenge of the Sith, number 5. That's my movie.
This is where the fun begins.
Yes.
It's good stuff.
Yep.
All right, number 4.
What's your number 4?
No Country for Old Men.
Another good one.
The first time I watched that, I was just nerves wrecked. Mm-hmm. That movie is just so tense.
Yeah. They really know how to write tension. That scene, particularly in the like the gas station, I think, or the convenience store.
Yes, the coin toss scene is one of the best scenes in cinematic history, period.
Yeah, that is so well written and so tense. Your heart just leaps up into your throat, and you're just frozen. You're holding your breath.
I'm going to put a link just in case. I'll put a link to the coin toss scene. Because you can watch it out of context, and you can just get a sense of... by the way, the character Javier Bardem plays, Anton Chigurh, was recently named the most realistic psychopath in cinema. They had a bunch of psychiatrists or psychologists, like professional grade, like go through all these, analyze all these characters, and he came out the most realistic.
It's extremely both well portrayed and well written, and it's incredible.
Well, yeah, the Coen brothers, they're modern day masters of the American Western. Yeah, and I consider that movie a Western, even though it takes place in the 80s, and it's just, I cannot say enough good things about that film. And even a lot of people agree that it's one of the few movies that's actually better than the book.
Wow.
They feel it actually improved upon Cormac McCarthy's original novel.
That's a huge compliment there.
Yeah, and the Coen Brothers I haven't seen the Coen Brothers movie that I just did not absolutely love. They can tackle any genre. I think I've seen them do hilarious, just downright the most hilarious movies, and then go and make a movie like this where it's just so tense, and just so well crafted that you have no idea what's going to happen, and it just will wreck your nerves watching it the whole time.
Yep.
And so, I can't say enough good things about that film. Again, if you somehow missed it, believe it won Best Picture that year it came out. Absolutely go watch it. It's a great film.
Yep. Definitely a good pick.
Great moral quandary movie too, about what would you do if you were in that situation? If you were in a Josh Brolin situation when you're watching the movie.
Yeah. Yep, it's good stuff.
Good movie. Wonderfully casted.
Yeah. I mean, great cast.
What's your number 4?
My number 4, again, something that I feel it should be higher, and probably isn't on most people's list. Man of Steel. As a big Superman fan, I waited for years to see him accurately portrayed on screen, and I feel like that. I feel like Henry Cavill did an excellent job, and everything about that movie I loved. It just reminded me of all the things about Superman that I read in the comics as a kid, it just rocked me. It just blew me away. I mean, the criticisms about it aren't invalid. I mean, sure, the city's destroyed, but that was a pretty big world problem.
A lot of people, the thing to focus on that part is that that was like day 3 as Superman.
Yeah. But I mean, even still, I mean, that was something that was destroying the entire world. So if the Justice League had existed, that's something that the Justice League probably would have helped with. You know what I mean? He also had to fly and rely on humans to do half the work over here, while he had to fly over to the other side of the world to take out the other half of the world engine. Yeah. You know? So, like, if you know, he had another team of superheroes to help contain or fight or crowd control or something like that, there might have been some less damage. You know what I mean?
It was like the first alien threat in that universe.
Yeah.
So, of course, they weren't prepared for it. They didn't know aliens existed.
Yeah. But yeah, just everything about it.
Michael Shannon's performance, I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael, it was
great things.
I will fight him. Just that was phenomenal. But I think the thing that was, I think probably one of my favorite scenes is the scene when they are threatening Martha and trying to find the ship, and Superman just out of nowhere just breaks the sound barrier, rocket punches this person and is like punching them through the cornfield, and he's like, "You think you could threaten my mother?" As they're flying and punching. It's just like, that was incredible. It's just like, I can see an emotionally charged, Superman, getting pissed off and punching the crap out of someone, doing that.
My secret love of that movie, Feora. Yeah, that was one of the coolest villains I've seen in a movie. I think she kind of stole the show from Michael Shannon in terms of villainy. It's just that whole DBZ style fight in the middle of the streets in Smallville.
Yeah.
Smallville? Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love that.
2 notes off that. My secret love, I'll get back to, but Side note, Feora, she would make a great Evil-Lyn.
Ooh.
Every time I looked at her in that movie, I just kept thinking Evil-Lyn from He-Man. So I'm like, ooh,
I'm not
Evil-Lyn.
going to disagree with that.
Even like the costume, I'm like, this could be an Evil-Lyn right now, and I would be fine with that. It just even looked like something like an Evil-Lyn out of the 80s movie almost.
Yeah,
almost. But my secret love is how they humanized everything. Like they struck the chord with, they won me over with the parenting. Like having to give up your son and send him off, not knowing if he'd be safe, but it's the best chance he has. That hit me hard, because I think right around the same time it came out, I gave, like, we had our daughter, our firstborn, and so that hit me real hard. And then, always feeling, and that's one reason that Superman always got me as a kid was, he always was sort of like an outsider. The last of his kind, really, different from everyone else, and that they really played that up. And in the movie, he's just like, I just want to be your son, and Pa Kent was just like, you are my son, and that just breaks your heart, because he's being told that he's not what he thought he was, and that things are completely changing and his world is rocked, and yet here he is just trying to scramble for something to hold on to, and here is Jonathan Kent with ever the wise words saying, you are my son. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you came from. I raised you. I will be here for you. That kind of acceptance is something that everyone, I think, seeks in life and can identify with wanting and needing. And that just it hit me, that was huge. And then the other part that was real big was the, when he's, in the ocean after he saves the liner, the oil, tanker thing. And, his mom is just like, just picture that you're on an island and, listen to my voice and all that stuff. And just to have that kind of support and love, like all those close family moments, like that kind of love and support is something that I think makes Superman. And they nailed all those moments. And that's what made that movie for me. It didn't matter that they updated Lois Lane and actually made her an effective investigator who can figure out and solve a puzzle, because that makes sense. The fact that she couldn't deduce that, oh, look at all these mysteries and they all seem to come back to this. The fact that she couldn't do that all these years took away from her. Like, you can't say that she's the best at what she does if she can't even figure out the one thing in front of her. They had to write in reasons for her to fail in the comics. Like, Superman compressed his spine and he stumbled and tripped and fell and made himself do all these things. But, still, like, if she went back and started putting things together before he was doing those things to throw other people off, then she would find the answer, in theory. So, and that's what happened in the movie. And so that part didn't bother me, but it was the human moments that really hit me.
Yeah, people tend to forget that Lois Lane is an investigative journalist, and to be that, you have to see action.
Yeah,
and you have to be capable and smart and and survive your story to be able to write it.
Yep.
And you can't you can't trip out the front door of the building and ask for help. And You're right. It's one of those things, it was the sign of the times. You got to have your damsel in distress.
Yeah.
And she just happened to be working there. And people, I guess they didn't really think like, oh, well, she's working there. Then, thinking about her job title and everything. It took them a while to get around to it, but they got it.
Yeah. And so that's why I have a deep love for Superman, and there's reasons for that I won't get into now because I've already ranted about Superman for too long. But that is why that movie is in my top 5.
There you go.
Number 4. What's your number? What are we on now? 3?
3?
Yeah, 3. What's your number 3?
Dark City.
Is that the one with Kiefer Sutherland?
Yes, Kiefer Sutherland. I believe his name is Rufus Sewell.
I have not seen this movie.
I actually don't want to give too much away. I will say if you're going to watch it, I went to theaters and watched this with my friends, and when I was younger, and my friends hated this movie. Mm-hmm. I adore this movie. It's I don't even want to say like what genre or anything if you've ever seen it. It's very noir. It's got Jennifer Connelly in it too. It's about a guy who wakes up, has no memory, wakes up in an apartment with a dead body, is accused of murder, and the thing is he the murderer or not? And this whole thing keeps unraveling deeper and deeper and deeper, and the places it goes is just mind-boggling. If you've never heard of the movie, if you don't know anything about it, go get the director's cut, because if you get the regular cut, it's going to blow everything, because the studio did that thing where they tampered with it, didn't think on it. It says we're going to get it, and they had Kiefer Sutherland do a narration over the front of the movie that basically gives away the entire plot. Oh. For some reason, I don't know why they did it. It was really dumb. It gives away the entire plot of the movie. So avoid the regular version. Get the director's cut. They take away that, it fixes that, and just if you're really into I don't know how to explain this without giving anything away. It's just really good. If you like movies that are just surreal and dark and very mysterious, you'll love the movie. Is he a killer or not? He can't remember his name. People are chasing him, and not just the police. There's also these mysterious people that are chasing him too, and it's very Hitchcock, but there's way more layers after that. I'd rather not give them away because, again, if you've never seen the movie, it's way more fun.
Yeah.
I don't even want you to see a trailer if you've never seen the movie. Because it'll just be so much more joy if you just watch it blindly. But yes, if you're into Hitchcock and you're a geek and you love geeky things, there's a good chance you'll really like that movie. It's Dark City.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Nice.
But yeah, fantastic movie. I believe the director of The Crow too. Back in the day. So if that's your Alex Proyas, I believe his name is. Yeah. I'm not sure how to say his name. But if you enjoyed that movie, you like that aesthetic, and you think, hey, what would it look like if that guy did like Art Deco's 1950s, Yeah. 1940s, 1950s look. Did like a mystery thriller. Yes, go check it out. What's your number 3?
My number 3, that sometimes, if you ask me, it might be a number 1. Just depends on the day. Same with pretty much all these. Is Last Samurai.
Oh, that's a good movie.
With Tom Cruise.
I I hear Liam's ears perked up. Liam loves that movie too.
It was a surreal experience. So I've always been interested in samurai and sort of like anything, any kind of that, anything from that, era and culture and everything. I saw the preview for the movie, really wanted to see it, and some friends and I went. We didn't even know anything about the showtime, right? So we went, we watched, we went to the theater. It was daylight out. We just were so sucked in and immersed into this movie, so absorbed. It just captivated us, blew our minds, and got out of the movie, and our phones had, especially mine, had blown up, because at that time, I didn't drive, and my mom had dropped my friend and I off, and she thought the movie was going to be shorter, so she was at the theater, like, looking for us, like, freaking out, like, wondering where we were, like, why haven't I heard from you, type stuff, and whatnot, and so, yeah, we're like, we came out, and it's night, and we were like, what, how long was that movie, and, like, what just happened, and, of course, it was December, it came out in December, so it wasn't unreasonable for it to be light and then dark, within a matter of, it was just an awkward time when we went in to see the movie. But, yeah, so we were just so obsessed with it, like, and absorbed in the movie that we were just totally lost all comprehension of time. We did not notice it. It felt like we just went into the movie, just started, and then it was over. It was incredible. Everything about that movie I loved. I wish it was longer. I wish there was another one. I wish there was so much. I just loved it. I even, for a long time, adopted that there was a phrase that they talk about in the movie, life in every breath. Because they're sort of talking about, dealing with the terror and horror of combat and killing people, and how does the samurai, deal with, killing people and not having nightmares. And he's like, you have nightmares? And he's just like, yeah, I've seen things. I've killed people and done terrible things. And he's like, how do you not have that? And he's just like, well, because we do what we have to do for honor and, all that stuff. And he's just like, yeah, and he's talking about the cherry blossom tree, and he, then he mentions life in every breath. And I sort of adopted that way of thinking for a long time, and it's just like, life in every breath. Take advantage of every moment. Be in every moment. You know what I mean? Like, be fully aware and conscious in every moment, and not just thinking about the next or living in the past. You know what I mean? Like, so everything around you is living and breathing too, and just, so I was just so obsessed with that movie, and it just became part of me, and it's just so wonderful. I was surprised. There's a lot of people that don't like it out there, but it's definitely one of my favorites.
No, me and Liam have talked about this. It's kind of one of the most underrated of Tom Cruise's movies, because
it really is.
Because when it came out, everybody thought it was one of those whitewashing history things, because it's called The Last Samurai and it stars Tom Cruise.
Right. And
people don't realize that Tom Cruise is not the last samurai in that movie. It's Ken Watanabe.
Yeah.
They don't understand that it's not really Tom Cruise we're learning his, and we're spectating from his character.
Right.
But the story is really Ken Watanabe's.
Right.
And because of that, Tom Cruise's character is learning from that as well.
Right.
And that's where his character art comes from. And I think people just lost focus on that. And of course, I don't think at the time Ken Watanabe wasn't as well known as he is now.
No, really, the only thing he had been in was Batman Begins, I think, at that time.
And yeah, because he's barely in that,
Yeah.
And people, but now, I think people, he's more recognized now. I think that movie, if that movie came out now, it'd be way more successful.
Right.
And they would see, really phenomenal Tom Cruise performance.
It is. I think it's probably my favorite Tom Cruise movie ever, out of everything I've ever seen. And, it's just, again, it made it into my top 5. Depending on the day, it's my top movie of all time. I just love it. It's beautiful. And
Ken
everything.
Watanabe too.
Yeah.
I shouldn't understand his performance as well. It's just
yeah. He just and just the two of them interacting. I loved our conversation in English.
Yeah.
It was just, oh man. We my friend Jason and I, we were the ones that went and saw this together. For a long time, we would actually get together every year on the anniversary of The Last Samurai and watch it. He went away to college and stuff, but, if he was in town, we would try to watch it. We both still have it on our calendar. We text each other, even if we can't get together and say, Happy Last Samurai Day. And it's like, do you have plans to watch it? We try to get together. If we can't get together, we still try to watch it on our own. Every year, we have a Last Samurai Anniversary Day where we go and either try to get together and watch it or watch it on our own, and we always text each other. It's one of our favorite movies of all time.
Phenomenal choice. Really good choice. And I can see how that could be a number 1 choice as well. It's really... Get out there. Watch that one. That's a good one. Number 2, mine, I think.
Yeah, what's your number 2?
Memento.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Nolan. He adapted his brother's short story into a movie, and who his brother's, he's become a writer in his own and creator. I said, he's working on Westworld and all that now.
Yeah.
And what was that show? I think he did Person of Interest. I want to say he created that show.
If so, that's I don't recall. Yeah.
Caviezel.
Yeah, Jim Caviezel was in it. The dude from Lost, which I'm currently blanking on his name.
Yeah, but I believe he created that show. But Jonathan Nolan, and of course they've worked together on movies and stuff. But yeah, Memento. I just remember just being so blown away by the structure of that movie and the writing, and to this day I am still jealous of that movie, and I wish I could write something as good as that.
It's really good.
It's and I can't say enough things about how well the special edition DVD is as well. That I like to brag about it because it looks like a medical file and stuff.
Yeah,
it's just the movie is fantastic. If you've never seen it, the plot is a man he's trying to solve his wife's murder, but he has a short-term memory loss, so he can only remember 15 minutes at the most, usually. Yeah,
I think it's the accident that killed his wife caused him to lose his short-term memory, so he can remember everything up to the point where his wife was killed, but he does not remember anything after that. So as he's investigating this, he has to take notes and
pictures, Polaroid and and he's just constantly trying to solve his wife's murder, which you can imagine. And to keep us in the perspective of him, to keep us with him and confused as he would be, the movie is playing forwards and backwards at the same time. We get a scene, we get the ending of the movie first, and then we get the beginning of the movie first, and then we get the previous scene before the last scene, and then we get the second scene of the movie, and it keeps going back and forth, until eventually the ending of the movie for us is the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
And because of this structure, we get we get these grand revelations, and it's fantastic. There's actually a special there's like a hidden Easter egg. You can watch the movie in order on the special edition DVD, which I've never done. It would be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
But I can't. It's just the double helix structure of that movie is amazing. Nolan's known for his nonlinear storytelling anyway, but just I've never seen a movie structured like that ever.
Isn't Tarantino also known for that? I feel like he does that a lot too.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction was very nonlinear. It was very broken up, and but this one, the structure was very much lenient toward the character and putting us in the perspective with him. So for it to serve a double purpose like that, to keep us in line with Leonard trying to solve this mystery, it was such a brilliant idea. That movie is just genius. And
yeah,
if you just love a good mystery movie and a good thriller, Guy Pearce, Carrie-Anne Moss, just great cast. It's just so good. If somehow you've missed that movie, one of Christopher Nolan's, I want to say it's his second film, because his first movie was
one of his earliest ones.
Following, which is also a really good movie as well. But I believe it's his second film. Definitely check it out if you somehow missed it.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Nolan does a great job on his stuff.
Nolan.
Well,
yeah.
He has a few other ones. Well, those are all short TV and whatnot. So, Following.
Yeah, Following's also
first.
a great film. I'd recommend that if you can track it down. That's also a good thriller mystery.
My number 2 is also a Christopher Nolan movie.
Huh.
It's The Dark Knight.
Excellent choice, sir.
Excellent choice. So,
man, what can you say about The Dark Knight, man? That's
The Dark Knight is just it's the perfect sequel. It has, I don't think there's anyone that can really talk bad about it, or that should really. It's I don't know. I'm sure there's someone that can talk bad about it. People can talk bad about anything, but I think it just was so wonderful. I can't really say enough good things about it. There's just everything. Like, the Joker just blew me away. I mean, Heath Ledger just knocked it out.
Remember when they announced that too, and everybody was like, "The guy from 10 Things I Hate About You,"
yeah,
and all that. Even I was like, I don't know, that guy really. Even I was a bit like apprehensive. I wasn't like, "Ooh, that guy," but I was just like, "That guy though."
Yeah, I wasn't sure, but he managed to, pull it off well. I mean, I wasn't sure about when they showed the makeup. I was just like, oh, that kind of looks weird, but whatever. We'll see what they're doing, But man, did they pull that off? And everything about it, like, just, it was amazing.
Even that viral marketing.
Yeah.
Remember the viral marketing that, like, tied into the movie that...
Yeah.
You could even watch those, like, Gotham News videos with Harvey Dent and stuff before the movie even came out. And,
I believe in Harvey Dent. Yep. And I think...
so cool.
I think that's one of the things... I mean, Joker aside, I think that's one of the things that's underrated is, Two-Face. Mm-hmm. Harvey Dent's performance in that. I'm blanking on his name right now, and I love
Aaron Eckhart.
Yeah, I love him. He is a great actor. One of my, The Core. Thank You for Not Smoking. Those are a couple.
Not smoking.
those are a couple of my favorite movies of his. But yeah, he just did such a great job. Like, you believe his sort of spiral and his development across the movie.
Yeah.
His sort of fall into darkness. Very, it felt believable to me. And just the way the movie how it opens, it's Batman doing what Batman does, stopping bad guys, and then it ends with just him riding off on the Bat Pod. It was just a masterpiece. Like everything about that movie was perfect to me. Couldn't have asked for anything better.
I would love to comment on that scene with Aaron Eckhart with the. I really adore the scene. There's no, even the audio they cut out and they make the music swell. It's when he finds the coin sitting there.
Yeah.
Batman had sat down, and he thinks that Rachel's, that Rachel had left it, and then there's the realization that she didn't.
Yeah.
And just the raw emotion that comes out of him, and they have that music swell up, and they drop the audio.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's so good.
Yep. It's just the way they can just squeeze every bit of emotion out of these characters. Like, you feel more for the bad guys in this movie than you do for Batman, Christian Bale. She was gonna leave him. No, dude. Sorry, man.
That's what makes Batman great. It's rogues gallery.
It really is. But I mean, probably one of the best scenes of Joker ever came from that scene where he confronts all the bad guys, the whole villains. I know why you have your group therapy sessions in broad daylight. You want to see a magic trick?
Oh man, that meme so quickly.
Yeah, it's just like let's not blow things out of proportion. Like, I was grinning from ear to ear. It's just like,
yeah,
with your cheap suit, it's like, you ought to know you bought it. And it's not cheap. You ought to know you bought it.
Yeah, I love the what was it, the TV's so-called plan.
The TV's so-called plan.
Yeah, I got Anthony Michael Hall was doing a AMA, and I got to ask him a question about what was it like doing that scene with Heath Ledger, because I had heard that Christopher Nolan had just let them loose.
Yeah,
and it turns out that was true, that he had give Heath Ledger the camera and everything, and he just let him and Anthony Michael Hall go, and a couple of stunt people go off and shoot in this warehouse, which Anthony Michael Hall said they pretty much just built Gotham in a warehouse. He said it was crazy that there was a city in a warehouse.
Yeah.
And he said, they just kind of ad-libbed and shot that scene, where he had taken Anthony Michael Hall's character hostage, and he just let him direct it, and and I was just so fascinated by it. Just.
Yep. It's just everything. It's just so like. It's just a beautiful movie, and it was a comic book movie. Like, it's about
Oscar. He got an Oscar for playing the Joker.
Yeah, it's just like how does that not tell people this is for real? You know what I mean? Like, it was just wonderful, and the score, like
Hans Zimmer score.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a John Williams fan, but. He really knocked it out of the park, especially with like the Joker. Like, he did a lot of like things with like the violin and stuff, like or the string instruments, where he's like drawing out these weird notes and then like like doing like the weird like scratchy sounds, and it almost just makes you feel like crazy or sound like crazy, just because it sounds all over the place. It's pretty cool, like just how he did that. It's awesome. I love it.
But and then you can't not mention the Heat inspired bank scene at the beginning. That's one of the greatest bank heist scenes.
Yep.
It's just great choice. That movie is gonna go on. Just people are gonna point out that's one of the best Batman movies. Period.
It's hard to top. It's hard to top.
It really is.
Yep.
Oh, this is it. Number one?
This is it? Yeah, what's your number one?
Okay, so I had to get technical here. And also, I'm willing to take heat on this, but everybody remember, this is a positive podcast. Because even yesterday, I saw somebody knocking this.
I'm frankly surprised that I haven't heard two things so far. So it's one of two things that I'm expecting.
I know. I guess Inframan at some point, right?
No. So that's three things that I have not heard.
Yes, Inframan is my favorite childhood movie. It really is. I had great stuff. But The Matrix.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one I was waiting to hear.
What was the other one?
Speed Racer.
I love Speed Racer. Speed Racer will probably be in my top 10 as well. My favorite family movie. I don't want to hear it in the comments. I'm sorry. That's a great movie.
Oh, Speed Racer or Matrix?
Well, The Matrix, because I'm counting everything. I have to count the entire trilogy. I have to count the Animatrix. I have to count the games. I have to count the comics.
I guess I would have said Star Wars if we're doing that. But
well, if you want to do that,
I will not. I will not.
I can't separate that stuff. But even yesterday, I saw somebody bad now the sequels. And I know people don't like the sequels.
They weren't as.
I know
they weren't my favorites, but.
I picked up on what they were setting up in the first one. That's what I expected for them to do. I was very spiritual. I got it. I loved it. But The Matrix, when that came out in '99, I went to the theaters. I think at that point, like my favorite movie is probably like Batman '89 or something, right? Mm-hmm. I remember going into that movie, and at this point, I had saw the trailer. And I remember the trailer just being phenomenal. And I was like, I don't know what this is. I have to see what this movie is. Because they had that tagline. Of course, no one can be told what The Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. And I was just like, ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, you got me. And then HBO had that making of special. And I remember I taped that. And I even brought that to school. And we played that in the AV room, and everybody was watching that. Everybody was like, what is this? And everybody was very interested in, like, what is this movie, and when's it coming out and everything. So I had, like, all those people hooked with my nerdery.
Yeah.
So went and saw that movie. Even going in as excited as I was. And this is like, the prequels were coming out at that time, too, right? Didn't Phantom Menace come out in '99?
Yeah.
So that year, everybody was like, Phantom Menace, But I went into that movie, and I came out. I remember I came out, and my mom had asked me, well, how did you like the movie? And I distinctly remember saying, I think it's my favorite movie now.
Nice.
And I remember I went back, and I usually don't get to go back to the movies a second time. I remember I went back like a second time. I think I went back a third time.
Wow.
I rented that movie 1,000 times. It was the first DVD, one of the first DVDs I had. And anytime it goes back to like retro cinemas and stuff, I go back and see it. And it very much changed my perspective, not just on movies, but just in life in general. And that continued with the sequels as well. Those movies are very spiritual to me. It was very much a religious experience. It's very life-changing to me. And if I ever met the Wachowskis, I would hug them so hard and tell them thank you. And just for all the movies they've done. I've loved all their movies, but specifically The Matrix. And that's why I can't, the Animatrix, fantastic. I love those. And they enter the Matrix because that gives you all that backstory and that's connected. And the comics, because those are all connected. And, it has all those great, I mean, even Neil Gaiman freaking wrote a story. And I love the Matrix. So,
Yeah.
to me, number one, the Matrix.
Yeah, and I mean, it's.
I could write a whole thing about it. I could keep going, but
No, I mean, it's. I mean, it definitely is. It's in my top movies. I'm not sure where it would fall, but I love it. I remember, being blown away. I wasn't allowed to go to the theater to see it yet, but it was definitely one of my favorites.
So what's your big number one? What's your number one?
Well, my number one has fencing, fighting, torture, revenge, giants, monsters, chases, escapes, true love, miracles. It's The Princess Bride.
Does it have kissing in it?
It's a kissing book. It's The Princess Bride.
Movie. That's a good movie.
And it might seem out of character or whatever, but it's just one of those movies that never fails to bring a smile to my face.
Yeah.
It's fun. I love quoting it.
Nega Montoya is on my fridge.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those movies that's just so much fun. Like, I mean, rodents of an unusual size? I don't think they exist. Just like there's everything about that movie just cracks me up. And
it's great.
And it's like, yeah, man. I end up quoting that movie so often and people just look at me like, what are you talking about? What are you doing?
So quotable, man.
It's like, you are a grown man. What are you doing? Did you just quote The Princess Bride at me? And I'm like, thank you for noticing. Most of the time when I quote it, they don't know what I'm talking about. The ones that do think I'm like weird, but I'm fine with that. But
do you find it inconceivable?
I do. That actually, in high school, I had a teacher, and this is a little funny side story, but as a teacher who, history teacher, she would say, essentially this, essentially that. She always said the word essentially when she was up at the board teaching, and everyone would like whisper and make fun of her and like outside of the room and stuff. And well, one day, and mind you, like I sat in the back of the class near the door, and
I think I know what's coming.
I just said, "You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means." She got the biggest smile on her face, and gave everyone else busy work and made me. She's like, "Come over here and sit here." Everyone thought I was in trouble. She moved me to the front of the room next to her desk. Like right next to her desk. Like the way the room was, it was really uncomfortable. Like there was two desks that were like arranged right next to hers. And then it was like 3, 4, 5. And then it continued on with like 5 chairs out until you got to the door. And there were 2 aisles of them all the way back. And so I was in one of the 2 chairs right next to her desk. She made me sit there. And, so for the rest of the year, she would like assign the class something, and I was like, I would sit there and start to do the work, and then she would just start talking to me like, "So what do you think about Star Wars, the new ships?" And she would talk to me about like different like geeky stuff, like in Princess Bride and Star Wars. Particularly, we had a very long conversation about why the ships in the classic trilogy looked like blocky and stuff versus the Naboo ships that looked sleek and modern and stuff. And I told her, I was like, well, our tanks don't look, as sleek as our Jettas and our BMWs. Our BMWs are like handcrafted and they're sleek and modern and meant for, driving. These are all armored vehicles. Like the Naboo, those were all handcrafted, not really meant for hard combat, like assembly line type stuff. Like we had like this in-depth conversation about Star Wars, and I'm like, but I can't really talk. I was like, I really need to do the homework I can't, I don't, I, you know, she's like, oh, don't worry about that. I'll just, she's like, it's just busy work. No. So like, just because I said, you keep using that word in Inconceivable, quoted Princess Bride, I got a pass on like almost all the busy work.
Her nerd flag went up.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I sat next to her the entire class for the rest of the year.
Oh, well, that's just the perfect story to end the list then. Cause
Yeah.
That's pretty much that's our bread and butter right there. That's perfect.
Yeah, it was just one of those. It's just one of those fun things, you know.
She could have got mad about that. She could have easily got mad and upset, but she thought that was great. That's great.
Yeah, she thought that was funny, and it's just one of those things about bonding over geek stuff like that. But yeah, Princess Bride is my number one. So quotable. Inconceivable. We use that a lot in our family, and Princess Bride. I just love that movie. But anyway, that's our top 5. We'd love to hear your top 5, top 10, your favorite movies, whatever the case may be. But favorite movies, that brings us back to our mission. We're wanting to. We have a mission that we're wanting to do. We're going to the movies and we're doing something new. We're going to do a commentary on a movie, and then that also is sort of going to launch us into a project that we're going to do that Bo's going to talk about here in a second. But first of all, we're going to have sort of a special episode, and that episode is we're going to sit down and we're going to do a commentary about the movie Sidekicks. We're going to watch the movie Sidekicks and do a commentary. And we'd like you to join us, watch it with us, and hear us talk about it. If you've never seen it, it's just a wonderful movie, and it's unfortunate, but for whatever reason, it has not made its way to DVD, Blu-ray, or anything like that. Anyway, but Bo has some more details on our mission here, what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, we're trying to raise awareness of this film because we, during a talk, me and Dustin figured out that we both really love this movie growing up. And we're not the only ones because this movie is up on YouTube. It's been up for a very long time. It has not been taken down. Nobody's bothered to take it down. It has, I believe, like over 3 million views. And it's all from just, people like us that grew up watching the movie. There's no other way to watch it. We don't want to watch it illegally. But this one time, we're going to encourage you to watch it with us, with commentary, on YouTube. We'll have the link next week with the commentary and everything. But we're going to ask you to go to a link to Shout Factory, who does limited releases of cult classics, limited movies that don't normally get released, and encourage them to get this movie put out on Blu-ray. Because if they get enough suggestions to do it, they'll actually consider it, and maybe they will put it out and get the rights to it. And maybe we can actually get this thing released officially. Right.
And bring it to so many people that have been watching it for years on YouTube, like myself, who has rewatched it a couple times, just because I love this movie. Just to give you an idea, if you haven't ever heard this movie, it's directed by Aaron Norris. It stars Chuck Norris, Beau Bridges, Jonathan Brandis, Mako. Now, if you remember, Jonathan Brandis is the kid from Neverending Story, and it's about basically it's about this a bullied teen who fantasizes about being Chuck Norris's sidekick and trains in martial arts to fulfill his dreams. So he has all these like sort of daydream fantasy things where he's Chuck Norris's sidekick, and then that's sort of how he gets through his day. He has to overcome all this stuff. So through one event or another, he ends up meeting Mako, who becomes his martial arts instructor, and he starts learning martial arts for himself, which is, how the whole thing comes about. But Chuck Norris is in it. It's directed by his brother Aaron Norris. It's just this wonderful movie that doesn't get enough praise. It's very underrated.
It's just a fun family movie. If you love movies like The Karate Kid, or just any of those like 80s, 90s inspirational sports movies, or movies where a kid, overcomes an obstacle to become better than himself, and learn the moral value of hard work and
self-discipline
and self-respect, self-love. If you love any movies like that, I mean, this movie's right up your alley.
Yeah.
And of course, if you love Chuck Norris.
Yeah. Who doesn't love Chuck Norris?
It's like a Chuck Norris appreciation movie. It's very funny. It's very tongue-in-cheek. I mean, Chuck Norris he's very aware that he's in like these parodies of himself, but these scenes are so fun, these little daydream sequences and stuff. And then, of course, there's a nice surprise at the end. And and Joe Piscopo is the dojo villain. If anybody remembers Joe Piscopo, SNL veteran, he's got all the funniest lines in the movie, if you ask me.
Yeah,
he got some great ones.
Yeah, so we're gonna be, that's gonna be our mission. We're gonna try to reach that. It's really not a lot. You don't even have to really commit to anything. Much. It's not even
less
like
than signing a petition.
Yeah. Yeah, it's less work than signing a petition, really.
And we definitely can't do it without you. So please join us next week in our campaign and try and help us out.
We look forward to hearing from you on the commentary episode. And again, we want to hear about your top 5. Yeah. So join us on Discord. Hit us up. If you enjoy this episode or you enjoy our show, we'd love to hear from you. Reviews. Absolutely. Not only give us the feedback we need to get better, let us know what you like, what you don't like, so we can improve our show, but it helps get our show to more people. The more reviews we have, the higher up in the rankings it gets, so that more people can find us easier and just stumble upon us. So that helps. We also have t-shirts for sale, and all the proceeds go directly back into the podcast to support us.
Absolutely.
Because this isn't cheap. Supporting all the audio storage on the website and everything like that costs money. We love to do this, and we love you guys, and we hope you love this too. So,
and to everybody that's already done it and everything, thank you.
Yes.
To all of our fans, join us on Instagram and Twitter, and everybody that listens to us on all the audio all the download people, like everybody that just is with us now. Thank you.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely. And speaking of people who've joined us, Patreon. We have Patreon. Hit us up on there.
New rewards.
Yep, we have new rewards. So check those out. We have all the links below. And until next time, I've been Dustin.
I have been Bo.
Have a good one.
Later, guys.